Have you ever noticed how the worst people often seem to be winning? Like they're walking away unscathed, smiling as if nothing ever happened. But what if I told you that life never forgets? It doesn't settle scores loudly or in front of everyone. It collects debts quietly in the shadows, in silence. The truth is, karma doesn't rush or shout. It works patiently and relentlessly, and it never misses a single detail. Stoics don't waste their time chasing revenge or stirring up drama. Instead, they watch and wait, because while you're healing quietly in peace, karma is already at work, silently weaving justice in ways no one else can see. Maybe you think they got away with their lies, betrayals, and manipulations. They walked away like they had nothing to answer for. But make no mistake, something did happen. Life is now speaking to them in the only language karma knows. Soft whispers that no one else hears, but that echo loudly in their soul every single day. In this video, you're about to discover 5 silent signs that show someone is already facing the consequences of how they treated you, not in a courtroom, not on social media, but deep within their own mind, in the quiet moments where no one is watching. This isn't about revenge, it's about truth. And truth speaks louder than any angry shout. It speaks through silence. Have you ever seen someone pretend everything is fine when inside they're breaking? Nothing feels heavier than wearing a mask of happiness when your heart is shattered. But karma doesn't care about appearances or Instagram highlights. It moves through what people feel when no one's looking. The first sign that karma is quietly unfolding is when they suddenly act like they've never been better. Think about the person who ghosted you, betrayed your trust, tore you down, and left you to pick up the pieces. Suddenly they start glowing, posting new photos every day, laughing in places you never went together, smiling with new faces who weren't even around when they had you. If you're not careful, you might start believing it. You might scroll through their so-called highlight reel and whisper to yourself, maybe they're really happy without me. But here's the hard truth. No filter, no perfect selfie, no staged smile can ever hide real happiness. True joy doesn't need to be broadcasted. Only fake happiness screams for attention. You've seen this pattern before. After going silent, for days or weeks following the fallout, they explode back online, photos, stories, inspirational quotes, selfies soaked in staged glow. One moment they were tearing down what was real, and the next they're hashtagging Charna to healing with someone new, as if guilt never touched their conscience. But look closer. The smile is too wide. The eyes seem distant, empty. The energy is desperate. Because real happiness is calm and quiet, while insecurity is loud and demanding. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And Marcus Aurelius reminded us that the best revenge is to be unlike the person who hurt you. That's why a true Stoic doesn't argue back, doesn't seek closure by stalking their story. They observe, they wait. Because silence is not weakness, it is power. And karma is patiently at work. Continuing from the powerful silence of karma and the facade of fake happiness, let's take a deeper look at how karma quietly unfolds in everyday life. Because true peace doesn't perform or put on a show, it simply exists. And paradoxically, the louder someone tries to prove they've moved on, the more likely they haven't truly let go. Karma doesn't need to make a grand announcement. It arrives quietly each night as they lie down, facing themselves in silence, realizing the person they've become is the very reason they lost someone who never wanted to see them hurt. No number of posts, no fake joy, no new partner can drown out the voice of a conscience that knows, I messed up something real. Let them smile for the camera because you hold the truth. And the truth is this: the most exhausting lie is faking peace. Karma doesn't always strike like lightning. Sometimes it begins with a subtle erosion, gradually taking away what they once thought would never leave. The second sign that karma is silently at work is when life starts to take back the very things they once held carelessly in their hands. People often imagine karma appearing dramatically: a car crash, heartbreak, betrayal. But karma is far more precise than that. It doesn't shout, it doesn't throw tantrums. It simply begins to subtract, quietly at first. Small things disappear without them noticing. A friend who stops replying, a colleague who loses trust, an opportunity slipping away with no explanation. They shrug it off, blaming it on life, bad luck, or coincidence. But the pattern continues, over and over again. Eventually, they find themselves standing amid the ruins of everything they once mocked, dismissed, or ignored. Maybe they used to say you were too emotional, too caring, overreacting, when in reality you were the only one responding with heart. You tried. You stayed up late texting them through their breakdowns. You forgave them when they forgot your worth. You believed in them when they didn't even believe in themselves. And how did they repay you? They rolled their eyes. They joked that you were clingy, needy, too soft for this world. They took your presence for granted, not as a gift. So eventually you stopped giving. You stopped fighting for someone who never showed up for you, and quietly you walked away. At first they felt free, untouched, unbothered, but then the silence began to echo. Messages slowed. Their circle shrank. Those they trusted turned out to be just like them. Selfish, dismissive, transactional. Suddenly all the options they thought they had vanished. The support they once received without asking was gone. The comfort of being deeply understood by someone who truly cared became irreplaceable because no one else could hold that space for them. Especially not someone new who only knows the version of them still pretending to be healed. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one." And what karma does is strip away everything that doesn't align with truth. When someone mistreats a good person, they're not just betraying. They're betraying the version of themselves that had access to peace, patience, forgiveness, and depth. Karma doesn't punish them with obvious suffering. It punishes them by showing exactly what they chose to lose, then making them live without it. Every room feels colder. Every new relationship feels thinner. Every victory feels emptier, because deep down, they know they had something real, and they let it slip through their fingers, building naturally from the silent signs of karma we just explored. Let's delve deeper into how karma continues to work quietly in their mind and life. Let them lose. Let them learn. Let them look around and realize that nothing surrounding them now feels as safe or as sacred as what they once had with you. Because karma doesn't just take away things, it takes away the version of themselves they were when they still had your love. And no matter how much they try to recreate it, they'll never find that same version of peace again. When someone talks in circles, but you remain the center of every sentence, karma is already whispering in their mind. The third sign someone is silently receiving their karma is that you still live in their thoughts, even if they pretend you don't, and never say your name directly or publicly. Listen closely. They post vague quotes on social media, cryptic captions about betrayal, loyalty, fake people, or healing from the past. They drop hints in conversations, And some people will never understand what they lost, or not everyone deserves my energy anymore. At first glance, you might think it's just general talk, but you know better. You know their language. You know their patterns. You know their guilt. You've been there. Scrolling through your feed, suddenly you see a post that feels like a bullet wrapped in poetry. They didn't tag you or mention your name, but every word screams your presence without saying it. It's as if they're trying to get your attention without wanting to look like it. That's not power. That's not healing. That's a conscience trying to scream through the cracks of a collapsed ego. Maybe their friends don't even notice. Maybe no one around them picks up on it. But you do, because you once loved them deeply enough to read their silences. And now those same silences are shouting back at them, because karma doesn't always punish with big events. Sometimes it punishes with obsession, with thoughts they can't control, with regrets they can't swallow, with memories they didn't expect to last but now can't escape. A Stoic does not seek revenge. A Stoic does not post back. A Stoic does not reply with subtle quotes of their own, because to reply is to validate, but to stay silent is to reclaim power. Epictetus said, "If someone speaks ill of you, live in such a way that no one will believe it. So when they talk around you, behind you, about you, don't respond, don't justify, don't clarify. Let them carry your name in silence, because the more they speak in circles, the more it reveals the truth. You left, but they never really did. Let them talk. Let them drop quotes, half-truths, and twisted stories. Let them loudly pretend to heal to cover the fact that they aren't healing at all. You don't need to be in their life to live in their mind. That's karma. And the mind is the loudest prison of all, especially when the person you wronged won't even look back. Stay silent, because silence once again says everything. When you betray someone good, you don't just lose them. You lose the ability to trust anyone who reminds you of them, including yourself. The fourth sign someone is silently receiving their karma is when they stop believing in others and slowly stop believing in themselves. At first, it looks like self-protection. They keep their circles small. They stop opening up. They become selective with their energy. They say things like, "I just don't trust people anymore." Everyone's fake these days. But beneath that tough exterior isn't strength, it's not boundaries, it's not healing, it's fear. The kind of fear that grows in the shadow of guilt. You've seen it happen, haven't you? Continuing. From the fourth sign, the doubt and loss of trust in oneself, we now explore another profound aspect of how karma manifests. They used to be open, laughing freely, trusting easily, and speaking without hesitation. But after what they did to you or others, something changed. Not on the surface, but quietly and slowly inside. Now, they question everyone's intentions. They assume betrayal before trust. They scrutinize every word, every action, every silence, searching for signs that someone might do to them what they once did to you. Why is this? Because deep down they know what they're capable of. And when you understand the pain you once caused to someone undeserving, you begin to believe everyone else has the same potential for destruction. This is karma's most intimate punishment, self-doubt. It doesn't isolate by force, but by slowly eroding from within. The voice that once declared, "I'm in control," now whispers, "Maybe I'm the problem." And that thought is terrifying, because once you start doubting yourself, peace becomes impossible, no matter how quiet the room is. Seneca once wrote, "He who does wrong rarely trusts anyone else, because he knows what he is capable of." The Stoics understood this deeply. They taught that your inner peace is directly connected to your conscience. If your actions betray your values, you won't just lose others, you'll lose yourself. That's what karma does. It doesn't always show up as visible consequences. Sometimes it appears as an invisible fracture within your inner world. A restlessness you can't explain, a tightness in your chest when things feel too good, a voice telling you that you don't deserve it. Even when they finally have something real, let them sit in that silence. Let them question everyone's motives. Let them fear the same shadow they once cast on others, because karma doesn't just haunt people with memories. It robs them of peace with paranoia. And the worst prison isn't behind bars, it's the one where your conscience becomes the guard. So if they can't trust anymore, don't feel guilty. Don't try to fix them. Don't come back just to prove not everyone is the same. That's not your job. Your role was never to be the redeemer of someone who chose destruction. You gave them truth. They gave you betrayal. Now karma is giving them exactly what they earned. Not chaos, not drama, but the quiet collapse of self-decay. Karma doesn't yell. It introduces you to yourself. The fifth and most undeniable sign that someone is silently receiving their karma is when life sends them someone just like them. Not just a bad match, not just the wrong person, but a mirror, a walking reflection of everything they once did to someone who loved them. And that reflection doesn't appear loudly. It comes softly, charmingly, attractively, just like they once were when they were winning your trust. At first it feels like destiny. They think they've finally met their match. The chemistry is off the charts. The connection feels deep, instant, magnetic. But what they don't realize yet is that they're not falling in love with something new. They're falling into a karmic loop. One designed not to show them who they love, but who they have been. This time, they're not the ones holding the power. Remember how they once made you feel unsure, like you were never enough, no matter how much you gave. Now they find themselves chasing texts that never come, waiting for calls that get ignored, posting things just to be seen and still getting silence. They once played hot and cold with you. Continuing from the previous sign about the karmic loop, now let's delve into another profound aspect of karma playing out in life. They are now dating someone who burns them with silence, then overwhelms them with affection, only to pull away again and accuse them of being too emotional. They used to turn your vulnerability into a joke. Now when they open up, they get mocked in return. They once had your loyalty and walked away. Now they beg for commitment from someone who keeps one foot in and the other foot out. At first, they rationalize it. They say, this person just has issues, they're complicated, they're misunderstood. But slowly, deep inside, a horrifying thought begins to rise. This is what I did to someone. They don't say it out loud and may never admit it, but that thought haunts them in quiet moments. A restlessness you can't explain, a tightness in your chest when things feel too good, a voice telling you that you don't deserve it. Even when they finally have something real, let them sit in that silence. Let them question everyone's motives. Let them fear the same shadow they once cast on others, because karma doesn't just haunt people with memories. It robs them of peace with paranoia. And the worst prison isn't behind bars, it's the one where your conscience becomes the guard. So if they can't trust anymore, don't feel guilty. Don't try to fix them. Don't come back just to prove not everyone is the same. That's not your job. Your role was never to be the redeemer of someone who chose destruction. You gave them truth. They gave you betrayal. Now karma is giving them exactly what they earned. Not chaos, not drama, but the quiet collapse of self-decay. Karma doesn't yell. It introduces you to yourself. The fifth and most undeniable sign that someone is silently receiving their karma is when life sends them someone just like them. Not just a bad match, not just the wrong person, but a mirror, a walking reflection of everything they once did to someone who loved them. And that reflection doesn't appear loudly. It comes softly, charmingly, attractively, just like they once were when they were winning your trust. At first, it feels like destiny. They think they've finally met their match. The chemistry is off the charts. The connection feels deep, instant, magnetic. But what they don't realize yet is that they're not falling in love with something new. They're falling into a karmic loop. One designed not to show them who they love, but who they have been. This time, they're not the ones holding the power. Remember how they once made you feel unsure, like you were never enough, no matter how much you gave. Now they find themselves chasing texts that never come, waiting for calls that get ignored, posting things just to be seen and still getting silence. They once played hot and cold with you. Continuing from the previous sign about the karmic loop, now let's delve into another profound aspect of karma playing out in life. They are now dating someone who burns them with silence, then overwhelms them with affection, only to pull away again and accuse them of being too emotional. They used to turn your vulnerability into a joke. Now when they open up, they get mocked in return. They once had your loyalty and walked away. Now they beg for commitment from someone who keeps one foot in and the other foot out. At first, they rationalize it. They say, this person just has issues, they're complicated, they're misunderstood. But slowly, deep inside, a horrifying thought begins to rise. This is what I did to someone. They don't say it out loud and may never admit it, but that thought haunts them in quiet moments. It appears in the pause before they fall asleep, in the silence after yet another failed attempt to connect. Because the pain they're feeling now isn't random, and it's not just bad luck. It's pattern recognition, and it is karmic justice in its most poetic form. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." But the universe does not seek revenge. It seeks restoration, and it restores balance, not by hurting someone back, but by giving them a lived experience of the pain they once caused, through someone they cannot control, cannot fix, cannot predict. This is not about punishment, it's about perspective. Because no lesson is remembered more deeply than the one that is truly felt. They used to laugh at how much you cared. Now, they cry over someone who couldn't care less. They used to belittle your needs. Now they are called too much by someone who withholds affection. They used to walk away like they were untouchable. Now they beg someone to stay, to respond, to try. And that someone simply shrugs. And that's when it hits them. Not all at once, but gradually and painfully. They are not just being hurt, they are being reflected. And the mirror never lies. Let them meet their match. Let them feel the confusion, the powerlessness, the heartache of being seen, used, and dismissed, just like they once did to you. But this time, there is no one left to blame, no one to gaslight, no one to twist the narrative for, because the person on the other side of this pain isn't some monster. It's them in a different body, with the same behavior. That's not revenge, that's return. Karma doesn't scream, doesn't attack, doesn't destroy. It reflects. So when they ask, why is this happening to me? The answer is simple. You're not being punished. You are being shown. You don't need to fight people who are already fighting themselves. Karma doesn't need your help. It doesn't need you to clap back. It doesn't need you to prove your side of the story or beg the world to see your worth. It only needs one thing from you. Your silence, your composure, your refusal to sink to their level. Because while they're still tangled in lies, pride, and manipulation, you have already stepped into something far more powerful: clarity. You see, karma isn't just about what happens to them. It's also about what happens to you. When you finally let go, you stop needing closure because peace becomes your closure. Building on the story of letting go and inner peace, we come to how time and yourself become the true witnesses of everything. You stop needing justice because time stands as proof of all that happened. You no longer need them to feel the pain they caused because life already teaches that lesson silently. Your role is not to punish anyone. Your role is to rise, to become so grounded, so stable, and so inwardly strong that no one can shake your peace again, not even the ghost of the person who hurt you. That is the Stoic way. We don't curse our enemies. We don't seek validation from others. We simply walk forward quietly and powerfully, with the kind of discipline that even karma deeply respects. So if you're watching this and someone has hurt you, someone who never apologized, who pretended, they did nothing wrong, who moved on as if you never mattered, let them go. Because even though they seem free, inside they are quietly haunted by one thing: the truth. And trust this: people who lie to others sleep peacefully, but people who lie to themselves never sleep at all. If this message spoke to you, don't waste your energy chasing the past. Comment below with the one line that hit you the hardest. Let others know they are not alone on this journey. And if you're walking the path of silence and inner strength, subscribe to Life Through Stoicism. Here we don't just talk about healing, we train the mind to lead, not react. We build clarity, we build discipline, we build unshakable peace. Let karma do what karma must do, and you keep becoming someone they'll never be able to reach. Again, that's not revenge, that's evolution. And the world watches in silence because growth like that makes its own noise.